I'm Stephen with Alberta urbangarden.ca. Welcome to my garage. In today's episode, I'm going to talk to you about my ritual for planting. Every gardener has one, so I'm just sharing what I do. I would love to know what you do, and if you have any improvements on mine, please let me know. So the first thing to think of is the plants that you started inside. Underneath those CFL grow bulbs and under most grow bulbs is they need time to acclimate. That sun that is up there today is way stronger than any grow bulb that you can find. I mean, you can still produce fruit and stuff outside inside, but the sun definitely way stronger. I heard once that the sun is, or the best grow light in the world is only as powerful as the cloudiest day outside. So what I do is, typically our evening temperatures, when I need to start moving these outside, still dip below the freezing mark. So what I do to deal with that is they don't need a ton of direct sun to begin with. You slowly start to introduce them to that. So what I do is I move them into the garage. As you'll see behind me, I got a little radiant heater. Just turns on every once in a while just to keep it above freezing. And slowly over time, what I'll do is I'll drop the garage door, which is where my feet are, to 30 centimeters or 1 foot. The next day, up a couple centimeters, and so on and so forth. Today is one of my favorite days. I get to move the plants outside, and they get to spend their first full night outside. So they've been hardening off for about a week now in the garage, but that still doesn't mean they're ready to go into the garden. I like to take it nice and slow. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move them to a shady part of my yard and slowly again continue to introduce them to the sun. Without further ado, let's get to it. Now I don't have a north-facing wall in my house. My house runs kind of askew, which means every side of my house gets sun at one part in the day or the other. So what I'm doing is I'm making use of the structures I have. I'll pay attention today and a little bit more tomorrow just to make sure that I don't go and fry some of my plants. You can see some of my tomatoes have already been damaged and the goji berries are looking, you know, a little sad. But that's okay. They hopefully will rebound. I hope I haven't killed them quite yet. The goji berry also just had pretty nasty aphid infection. So a north side of a building works absolutely great if you have one. If not, make use of the areas you have. And so what I'm going to do over the next couple of days is, you see these guys on the left, is I'll take them out a couple more centimeters each day until they're acclimated to full sun, which time they'll hit the garden and they'll be planted up in some beautiful soil. But that's the game. You do want to pay attention though to evening lows. Check that forecast every night before bed just to make sure. You can always retreat them back to the garage or into your house, but you want to make sure that you're checking it every day, because you know what? Forecasts change and you don't want to lose your plants this late in the game. The other thing, you don't want to bring these plants, once they've been outside, you don't want to bring them back to where other plants have been, or you've got indoor plants. The outside critters and bugs and stuff, they'll regulate each other, but in the house, oh, they'll go nuts without predators. So you just want to make sure that you don't bring them into a space that has your indoor plants, otherwise you might risk infecting inside. It's important to continue to water your plants. Inside, they require just a fraction of the water that they're going to need outside. So what I do is I make sure they get a good drink of water almost every day, just so that they can get acclimated. I mean, in the house they were getting watered once a week, but outside with the wind, the sun, the other environmental factors, they're going to grow more, they're going to need more water, it's going to dry out more. So make sure you keep on top of watering, especially the little containers. They tend to dry out really quickly. So the next part of my planting tradition is to lay things out. I use a square foot gardening method, which indicates, say, one brassica or one cabbage per square foot, or 16 onions per square foot, and I find that it maximizes the use of my space. Right now, gotta warn you, right now, these plants look tiny. It looks like you have tons of extra space. Just wait a couple of weeks, you'll notice it'll cover the entire garden area, which is perfect. So instead of putting tags like I have for these ones, even if I have enough tags, what I'll also do is I'll write it down in my garden book just to make sure I remember which variety is which, so that next year as I'm kind of picking through what I liked and what I didn't like, I can remember which ones I liked and where they were situated, and it kind of helps me with my planning for the next year. So for planting things like this is fairly easy. Got nice beautiful garden soil. And all we do is flip that guy upside down. Look, perfect timing, it's just about getting ready to be root bound. And fill in. Now you don't want to press. You don't want to press on this at all. You just want to give it a nice little water. And it's best to do this in the morning. That way you have the sun coming, you have the heat coming, but you're not trying to water in the middle of the day when the water droplets can hurt the plant or the plant is under stress because it's warm. It's easiest to do this first thing in the morning like I am here. So what I'm going to do until I have it written down is put the cup with the identifying marks on next to it, and once I finish planting, I'll write up this and make sure that I've got it in a safe place so I don't forget. So now that we have them planted, and especially when you can actually see the plants, it's time to mulch. You can use things like dried grass, or leaves are actually really good. But this will just help retain the moisture, reduce the amount of weed seeds that get in here, and feed the plants over the long term, because our beneficial microbes and worms and stuff will come in here and they'll actually start eating this. And that'll fertilize the plants that we're trying to grow passively, continue to aerate and provide the beneficial microbes. Our little worm friends, we really want to help them get into this new bed. There's the compost below it, there's the beautiful mulch on top. It should be a happy place for them, and when they're happy, they make our plants happy. To finish off the mulch, what I have here is used coffee grounds. And this is a free resource that you can pick up, and it provides not only bioavailable nutrients to the plant, but slowly breaks down over time. It also helps to bring in the worms, because they're actually looking for the bacteria, and some of the bits and pieces that they actually feed on is on the coffee grounds themselves. It'll help to decompose and to kind of compost on the top. So we're just going to continue to mulch this. It's important to note, with brassicas especially, and before we move on to seeding, that you'll need to protect them. In this area of the world we have some pretty nasty cabbage moths, and it'd be really disappointing if they decided to eat your entire crop this year. So I'm going to build a hoop house over this and use some shade cloth to begin with, and find some exclusion cloth to just help keep them at bay. So next we're going to start direct sow seeding. So the last part of my planting tradition is plant direct sow. So these are some onion sets that I picked up because I ran out of space in my grow room this year. And you can grow onions from these sets. They're basically just small onions. So what you want to do is, in a 1 foot by 1 foot square, you can plant up to 16 onions. Now you're not going to get the biggest size onions that way, but these are not huge jumbo varieties. So you go 4 by 4. You want to make sure that the root side is down, that's the little hard nub, and the pointy part is up, and just plant them in there. So it's easy to do. 4 holes in a row, 4 bulbs, and that's that. Same thing holds true with seeds. Is all you do is you poke a little hole depending on the depth that the package recommends, and you plant them away. So I don't mulch these until I have them poking their noses up through the soil, so that I make sure I don't smother any seedlings I actually want, as opposed to the weeds that typically grow between them. Thank you very much for joining me. I appreciate it very much. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and a subscribe. If you'd like to continue the conversation, please join us on Google Plus and Facebook. Those URLs can be found in the description below. Have a great day.